At 11:30 a.m., the doorbell chimed. Two police officers stood on my doorstep, a tall man with a mustache and a younger woman with her hair tied back tightly. The male officer asked if I was Mrs. Anastasia Carter, and I nodded. He introduced himself as Officer Daniel Reed and his partner as Officer Sarah Mitchell, stating they had an urgent matter to discuss. Inside the living room, they declined my offer of tea and cut to the chase. They were here about my husband, Ethan. I assured them everything was fine, noting he'd left for work that morning. Officer Sarah exchanged a glance with her partner before explaining the situation. They'd received a missing person report about Ethan, filed by his mother, Margaret. Missing. That couldn't be right. He'd kissed me goodbye at 7:30 a.m. Officer Daniel flipped open his notebook and said Margaret hadn't spoken to her son in 5 days. When she contacted his workplace yesterday, they said he hadn't been there all week. That made no sense. Ethan went to work daily at Grayson and Partners, where he was handling a major project. Sarah countered that they'd verified with Grayson and Partners, and Ethan hadn't shown up since last Wednesday. I immediately dialed his number, but it went straight to voicemail. I told the officers there had to be a mix-up. Ethan had been leaving for work and coming home on schedule, even discussing his day over dinner. When Daniel asked about the previous day, I recalled Ethan returning at 6:00 p.m. We had pasta, and he mentioned a prolonged meeting with a client. Sarah asked when I'd last spoken to my mother-in-law. I mentioned Sunday, when we were supposed to dine at her place, but Ethan said she'd canceled because she wasn't feeling well. Sarah revealed that, according to Margaret, no such dinner was ever planned, which left me baffled. The officers requested to look around, and I showed them our bedroom, including Ethan's toiletries and clothes. When Sarah inquired about his passport, I checked the desk drawer where we kept important documents. His passport and birth certificate were gone, though I swore they were there last week when I sorted bills. After a radio call, Daniel shared that another officer had spoken to our neighbor, James Keller, who saw Ethan loading bags into his car last Wednesday afternoon. I insisted that was impossible since he was at work, but Daniel said James was certain it was 1:00 p.m. I called Ethan's office and spoke to his assistant, Rachel. She sounded shocked and revealed Ethan hadn't been in since requesting personal leave last Tuesday for a family emergency. Daniel suggested checking financial records, cautiously hinting at what he suspected. "You think he left me?" I asked, incredulous. "We've been married 6 years, we're fine." I checked our joint bank account on my phone. The balance was $792, down from over $30,000 last week, our savings for a house deposit. A transaction from Wednesday showed $29,500 transferred to an unknown account. I whispered there must be an error. Credit card statements revealed charges at a travel store, a men's clothing shop, and a rideshare to the airport in the days before he vanished. Daniel asked if Ethan had relatives out of state or friends abroad. I mentioned his college friend in Costa Rica, whom he visited last year. Sarah noted they'd need that contact information. After they left, my friend Rachel came over. She gently asked if Ethan had said anything odd recently. I told her he'd talked about a promotion and our plans for a house in Pine Grove. "Anna, Ethan was let go from Grayson 3 months ago," she said. "We thought you knew." That night, I searched our closet and found a prepaid phone tucked inside an old bag. It was locked, so I took it to a tech specialist to unlock it. The call log showed numerous calls to and from one number. The latest text read, "Flight booked, see you there tomorrow." 2 days later, Officer Sarah called to confirm Ethan had boarded a flight to San Jose, Costa Rica, and he wasn't alone. First update, posted 5 days later my husband ditched me, flew to Costa Rica with someone else, and emptied our savings. I'm still reeling from his nerve. Thanks to those who messaged after my first post. Some of you suspected this early on, and I wish I'd trusted my instincts when things started feeling off months ago. The day after Sarah's call, I tried calling Ethan dozens of times. Every call went to voicemail. My messages started confused, then turned furious. By the 20th, I was yelling about his cowardice for not facing me. No response. Then Margaret called, asking if the police had located Ethan. I told her he was in Costa Rica, apparently thriving. She acted stunned, questioning if it could be a mistake. I asked why she filed the missing person report if she knew something was wrong. She got defensive, saying she was just concerned about her son. I pressed her and she admitted Ethan called her last Tuesday, saying he was leaving me and swearing her to secrecy. He claimed I'd been difficult, and he needed space to sort things out, promising to call once settled. I was livid. I told her she watched me unravel as the police revealed he'd taken everything, knowing all along. She cried, saying Ethan told her our marriage had issues she didn't understand. I demanded to know what issues, because we were fine until I learned he'd been jobless and lying for 3 months. That silenced her. She didn't know about the job. Ethan told her he'd gotten a raise and was taking a break to celebrate. She believed he'd earned that money. We met at a cafe near her place 2 days later because she insisted on talking face to face. She looked exhausted, sleepless, makeup streaked. She kept saying she didn't know Ethan could do this, that he'd always been a good son, that something must have changed him. I laid it out. Ethan was fired in June. For 3 months, he dressed up, left for work, and came home with fake stories about meetings and clients. He stole our savings, money I'd saved before we married, and used it to fund his new life in Costa Rica with someone else. Margaret kept insisting there was an explanation, maybe depression, maybe a breakdown. I told her depressed people don't book flights, buy suitcases, and plan escapes over days. This was deliberate. Then she revealed something that infuriated me further. Ethan had called her yesterday from Costa Rica, saying he was safe, sorry for worrying her, and would explain soon. When she asked about me, he said I'd be okay, that we drifted apart. Drifted apart. He kissed me every morning, said he loved me, planned our future home, and somehow we drifted apart without me noticing. I asked for the number he called from. She said it was blocked. The bank situation is a mess. I visited our branch on Friday and met a manager, Kyle, who apologized like it was his fault. He showed me the account activity. Ethan had been siphoning small amounts to a new account in his name since July. The big transfer happened Wednesday at 9:15 a.m. while I was at work. Kyle said since it was a joint account, Ethan's actions were technically legal. Same with the credit cards, both our names, so his spending spree wasn't illegal. I called a lawyer, Emily, recommended by Rachel, that afternoon. She said I could file for divorce and try to recover some money through asset division, but if Ethan spent it, there might be nothing left. She advised freezing everything and documenting his purchases, which I'd already done. I searched our apartment thoroughly, every drawer, box, and scrap of paper. In Ethan's car, which he left behind, I found insurance papers for a storage unit I didn't know about. I drove to the 24-hour facility on Saturday night, unable to sleep. Using the code from the papers, I opened Unit 312. It was nearly empty, just old college furniture and a few boxes. But in a corner, I found a folder of printed emails between Ethan and someone named LJ, spanning 6 months. The emails were vague but clearly romantic, with phrases like, "Can't wait to be with you," and "It'll all work out soon." The last email from a month ago said LJ had secured an apartment and paid the deposit. Ethan replied he'd handle the money and they'd be gone by October. The email was a random Gmail with numbers. I also found a receipt from a jeweler dated September 10 for $3,500, a ring. He bought someone a ring while we were saving for a house. When I asked Rachel if she knew about Ethan seeing someone, she said colleagues noticed him texting constantly in his final weeks at work, always smiling at his phone. A coworker, Tom, saw him at lunch with a woman in May but assumed she was a client. I asked why no one told me. Rachel said they thought I knew about the layoff and were handling it privately. My sister Laura arrived from Portland yesterday. I hadn't told her everything because she's 8 months pregnant and didn't need my chaos. But she found out through Mom and showed up with bags and a look that could kill. We spent hours reviewing what I'd found. Laura wanted to fly to Costa Rica and drag Ethan back herself. She said she never trusted him, which isn't true, but I appreciated her support. She asked why Ethan went through such an elaborate scheme instead of just divorcing me. That's what I can't crack. Why the act? Why pretend everything was fine? Laura thinks the 3 months of fake work weren't about hiding from me, but about setting up his new life without my suspicion. I've been trying to identify LJ. I scoured Ethan's social media, old yearbooks, and alumni records. No matches. Margaret claimed he hadn't mentioned new friends, but her reliability is shaky since she didn't know he was jobless and fleeing the country. Lying in bed in our shared apartment, I realize I don't know who I was married to. The Ethan I knew wouldn't do this. He was dependable, honest, and faced problems head-on. But that Ethan was a lie. The real Ethan destroyed my life while smiling at me daily. I called Grayson and Partners again and spoke to Ethan's former boss, Michael. He said Ethan's layoff was performance-related. He'd botched something major. When I pressed, Michael cited confidentiality but said Ethan was devastated and blindsided. Maybe that's it. Failure broke him, and instead of dealing, he torched everything and ran off with someone who doesn't know he's a fraud. I still have the prepaid phone. Emily told me to keep it as evidence. I keep staring at those texts, so casual, so affectionate, like ruining my life was a minor step toward his paradise. The number texting him had a U.S. area code, Seattle. I tried calling it from a blocked number yesterday. It rang 3 times, someone picked up, and I heard breathing and what sounded like waves. Then they hung up. When I called back, the number was disconnected. Final update, posted 3 weeks later. This is a long one, and I'm still grappling with it. Ethan finally contacted me, and his nerve reached new heights of shamelessness. A lot happened since my last post, and some of you predicted parts of this. Impressive but disheartening. 2 days after my last update, Emily called to say she'd filed divorce papers, but serving Ethan was tricky without an address in Costa Rica. She said we could serve via publication if he stayed hidden long enough, but that'd take months. I told her to file anyway. That week, Laura had her baby early, a girl, Emma. I drove to Portland and spent 3 days at the hospital with her and her husband, David. Holding Emma while my life crumbled was bizarre. Laura kept apologizing for the timing, as if she could control it. I said it was the distraction I needed. While in Portland, Margaret called 7 times. I answered on the 8th because Laura said I had to face her eventually. Margaret wanted to meet, claiming she had critical info about Ethan. I said unless it included his Costa Rican address and my money, I wasn't interested. She insisted Ethan had confessed things during a recent call and wouldn't elaborate over the phone. Reluctantly, I agreed to meet at a diner near my apartment when I returned to Seattle. The diner meeting was tense. Margaret looked worse than before, clutching a folder like she was in court. She said Ethan called her sobbing 2 nights ago, admitting he'd messed up and didn't know how to fix it. I asked which part was the mess-up, stealing, lying, or abandoning me. She said Ethan confessed to seeing someone he met online. After losing his job, he spiraled, feeling like a failure, and this person offered a clean slate. Her name was Lily Jordan, a Seattle woman he met in an online gaming group I didn't even know he was part of. I asked why Margaret was sharing this now. She said I deserved the truth. I snapped that the truth would have helped when the police showed up. She cried, saying Ethan was her son and she was torn. I told her there was no torn anymore. Ethan chose when he drained our account and fled. She could side with him, but I was done pretending we'd resolve this like family. Then she dropped a bombshell. Ethan wanted to talk to me, asking her to arrange a call because he feared I'd overreact. I lost it. He stole everything, humiliated me, and was worried about my reaction. She tried to calm me, but I was beyond reason. I told her to give Ethan my number. He already had it, but was too spineless to use it. I left the diner, sat in my car shaking for 20 minutes, then called Emily with Lily's name. She said she'd investigate for the asset case. 4 days later, Ethan called from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but did. His voice was unchanged, which made it worse. He started apologizing, saying he never meant for things to spiral. I cut him off, demanding he clarify which part, the affair, the theft, or the disappearance. He went silent, then said it was complicated. I told him to simplify it. He rambled about how losing his job crushed him, how he felt worthless, how Lily understood because she'd faced similar struggles. Their connection grew, and when she suggested starting over elsewhere, it seemed like his only escape. I asked why he didn't tell me. Why the months of deception? He said he tried but couldn't face hurting me, and the lies snowballed. He took the money, thinking we'd split it in a divorce anyway, and he needed it for his new life. I snapped. That money was mine, saved before our marriage, not his to take while I was at work. He claimed he'd repay me once settled, maybe in a year or 2. I demanded every cent now. He admitted he had only $5,000 left of the $29,500, spent on an apartment, furniture, and Lily's credit card debt. My money paid off his girlfriend's debts. I asked about the $3,500 ring. He confessed it was an engagement ring for Lily, bought in September, planning to marry her post-divorce. Engaged to her while married to me, using our house savings. He tried blaming me, saying I'd been distant, focused on work. I reminded him I worked extra for the house he claimed to want. Silence. I asked why he didn't just divorce me honestly. He admitted he feared a fair split in court. My lawyer would have ensured it. By leaving, he'd spend the money before I could fight for it, banking on Costa Rica's distance to shield him. Hearing him admit it was worse than discovering it myself. This was no impulsive mistake. It was calculated. He asked to settle privately, avoid lawyers, citing our past love and my good heart. The manipulation was infuriating. I told him the right thing was returning to Seattle and facing consequences. He said he couldn't. His life was with Lily now. I asked if she knew he was married. He said yes, she supported his choice. I hung up. Emily was ecstatic about the call. His admission of hiding assets strengthened our case. She found Lily Jordan's social media via legal databases. Lily, 29, had been posting from Costa Rica for 2 weeks. Beaches, cocktails, her and Ethan looking infuriatingly happy. One photo showed the ring. Seeing them while I dealt with the fallout made me ill. Laura told me to stop looking, but I couldn't. I needed to understand who Ethan chose over me. Lily's old posts revealed she'd been divorced when she met Ethan. Her ex-husband cheated, and she'd shared her pain online, yet helped Ethan betray me. I found her ex, Tom, and messaged him. He responded quickly, and we talked for 2 hours. His divorce from Lily finalized in March, around when she met Ethan. Tom said Lily always needed validation, jumping into new relationships fast. He suspected she was with someone new, but didn't know who until my message. He revealed Lily had massive debt from a failed business, which she kept post-divorce. Ethan using my money to clear it made sense. She needed a financial savior. The divorce is slow, complicated by Ethan's location. Emily's working on garnishing his future wages and freezing assets. It's costly and frustrating. Margaret called last week, relaying Ethan's apologies and hopes for forgiveness. I told her I didn't want third-party apologies. If he was sorry, he'd return my money and face me. She said he was building a life in Costa Rica and couldn't abandon it. I told her to choose a side. Supporting Ethan meant excusing his theft. She insisted she loved her son despite his actions. I said that was fine, but we were done talking. My lease ends in 2 months, and I'm not renewing. Too many memories. Laura offered her place, but I need independence. I'm looking at studios near work. I keep dissecting our marriage, wondering what was real. Did Ethan ever love me, or was I just convenient until Lily appeared? Tom said I'd go mad analyzing it. Lily did the same, rewriting history to glorify new loves and vilify old ones. Ethan could have divorced me honestly. It would have hurt, but it'd have been fair. Instead, he lied, stole, and manipulated. That's who he is. I don't want him back or forgive him. I hope his Costa Rican life crashes, that Lily drains his remaining money and leaves. Emily says a settlement offer should come soon, likely with Ethan pushing for installments. Whatever happens, he's Lily's problem now.